Hi, it's May 1st and this is the second in the Walk Around Cook's Garden Once a Month series. We've been eating asparagus for a couple of weeks. Very nice. Here are the first tomatoes that we planted out. Got them tied up and they're settling in nicely. Things are looking nice in the greenhouse. All the major potting is done. Patients are starting to flower. Whole slew of marigolds. And snapdragons, lettuce. Tomatoes for our third house. Hot peppers. Petunias, wave petunias. More peppers. Beets, wave petunias. Some baskets. We're trying cascadias this year. See how they do. There's our first peppers. We're going to try peppers in a greenhouse this year. And eggplant too. We're going to tie them up. See if we can learn how to do that. Beets. Extra strawberry plants. Sunflowers. Plants waiting to go out once we get to next week past the farmer's market. There's some parsley and different kinds of kale. Got frosted several times, but it's yellowed a little bit, but I think it'll come out of it. Here's our second house of tomatoes, settling in nicely. And the gorgeous lilac bush. What a treat to walk past it. These are all tomatoes for sale. The little ones we have lots of different varieties. We have some very large ones, very large early girl. Here are some ever-bearing strawberries that we set out the end of March. Settling in and starting to flower. Need to pick the flowers off of these. And the rhubarb has started to really take off. Peonies. Asiatic lilies. And here are tune-bearing strawberries that we planted the end of March. They're also settling in well. And these are ones that we planted last year. We raked off the mulch April the 15th. They're starting to look enthusiastic. Leeks are really taking off. And at the other end there is some Sweet William. Here's our first sowing of beets that we actually transplanted, but guess I call it my first sowing. This is our third sowing underneath this fabric of radishes and arugula. Here are the onions, onion family. We have shallots, red onions and sweet onions. This is where we had the plastic and the landscape fabric trying to kill the weeds before we put the onions in, and I can't tell whether it worked well or not. We'll see. I know that when we took the plastic off, there were so many dead worms in the water that it really stank. It's really quite unpleasant. So I'm thinking that maybe next year we'll just use the landscape fabric, which will let the water soak through. We wound up rototilling lightly before we transplanted the onions anyway, so I think that's what we'll do. Here are some carrots. that we sowed. This is the first crop we ever tried flame weeding on. So we'll see how that works. And at the other end is a cilantro and dill coming up. This is arugula radishes. The second sowing of arugula and radishes. And here's the lettuce, ready for the, large enough to harvest for market tomorrow. This was under the tunnel. We took the tunnel off yesterday. And there's some more lettuce for later. And here's raspberries. We decided to limit the row width to 5.5 feet. We'll see if that turns out to be a forest, or who knows. We'll see. And in this house, we have 3 rows of green beans and various cut flowers on this side to get a jump on the season a little bit. This is our perennial flower area by our fish pond. And we took the cover off of this the day before yesterday. So the lilies are already in bloom. Fish are swimming around happily. There's some red rhubarb, looking nice, and various other perennials. They could use weeding, but we'll get to that next week. We're trying to get purple martins going here, and it's quite interesting. We have tree swallows that used one of the gourds to raise a family last season, and we've been doing our best to keep them out of the martin gourds and have them nest in the gourd over there by the ladder. But we're learning about this, and if anybody local is an expert on purple martins, certainly like to talk to them. Something else that we did since I last spoke to you all was we installed an irrigation main in the garden to avoid having to drag so much hose around. So you've got these lovely little things here. You open them up and you quickly plug in a short length of hose, and makes it better. Things haven't moved very much on the hen house. April's a crazy month, but perhaps now we've got all the potting done and we'll be able to get some work done on it and finish it up. The hens are supposed to come in June. The bees are doing well. We have 4 really nice strong colonies and one that isn't very populous yet. It has a good queen, but for some reason it's not real busy. This is the one that isn't real busy. So the 4 that are busy have 2 deeps where the bees live, then a queen excluder, which is that little narrow line, and then 2 honey supers on top. We haven't had any swarms come out yet. This is the little greenhouse. Everything is out of here except cucumbers and squash, which like it nice and warm to germinate them. So there we are. There's our May edition of A Walk Around Cook's Garden.